Jane Leighs and Adam Hayward.
I'm just Jane, I'm not Adam.
You are not Adam as well?
I'm not Adam as well.
Well, we met you yesterday, yes? The other day. No?
No.
Oh.
You met me last night.
I did meet you last night. That's why. Everything's blurred into one great big long hearing. It was a wonderful night last night. It had nothing to do with hearings. How embarrassing.
That's all right. That's all right.
No. Of course I remember last night. I have been, I've been conducting private hearings in my own time.
Mayor and councillors, I'm Jane Leighs and I'm a trustee of the Christchurch Arts Audience Development Trust. If you want to refer to it in something short, you can call it CAAD. That just makes it a little bit easier. The Christchurch Arts Audience Development Trust operates the CAAD project, which is directed by representatives of 9 key Christchurch arts and culture organisations. Those are the Art Gallery, CSO, Christchurch and Canterbury Tourism, Scape Public Art, for whom I'm also a trustee, Dance and Performance, who operate the Body Dance Festival, Christchurch Arts Festival, Canterbury Museum, New Zealand Ice Fest, and Word Christchurch. So it's a broadly representative group of key arts organisations, and we meet monthly with the intention of growing audiences for the arts collaboratively, so working together so we can be more efficient for the arts in the city. So the representatives of those organisations make up the CAAD steering group. So you've got the trust, which operates our activities. You've got the steering group who make the decisions on how we act, and you've got the individuals from the representative organisations. We're an independent group, and since the earthquakes we have independently undertaken research into audiences for the arts in Christchurch. We've created an audience development strategy. We've built a large database of individuals who have an interest in the arts and culture in Christchurch. We've employed an internationally experienced marketer to deliver our communication strategy. Our activities have been supported by Creative New Zealand, by the City Council Arts Advisors, by the Joint Agency Group, by the Ministry of Culture and Heritage. So what we're doing is there is a group of organisations who are working together from the ground up and giving our ideas and our wisdom, and our ideas have been accepted by a number of the different central and local government bodies. Our progress in organisation-led audience development is being tracked internationally. Our model is a really interesting one. Rather than government telling us what they think the arts organisations should be doing, the arts organisations are talking together about what we think we should be doing, and organisations from, we know Newcastle in the UK are watching us, we know that organisations in the US are watching us, because it's a different way of working. We've created a vision, and our vision is to make the arts and culture part of everyday life for the people of Christchurch and Canterbury. You will see the names of the different organisations. We are working together in a manner that we want to develop arts audiences for the whole arts and culture in Christchurch. So although there are a number of larger organisations there, we recognise that we can only grow our own audiences by growing it for everybody if we work together. Later in 2015, we plan to share our findings of the 2 years foundation work that we've done with the larger arts and culture community and invite them to take part in a pan-arts strategy. So our submission today is that the reduction in budgeted costs for events and festivals will challenge the Council's ability to successfully deliver a thriving arts and culture environment in Christchurch. The steering group, however, also comprises realistic people. We recognise the Christchurch City Council's financial position. But we also understand the importance of arts and culture to Christchurch City, and I'd like to run through and emphasise the effects that these cuts will have if implemented on the city. Firstly, we'll see a reduction in arts and culture organisations' staffing budgets, which will result in job losses and a reduced ability to keep and attract good employees. We will necessarily limit our deliverables, which will result in less arts and culture activity in the city. There'll be pressure on young and emerging arts and culture practitioners, which will reduce our ability to foster young talent. It will indicate a backward step for the city's new creative brand, which has evolved as a result of the creative sector's activities and has the potential to financially benefit the city through domestic and international tourism. It'll make Christchurch a less attractive place in which to live, which will impact negatively on the ability to attract international students, workers, business people, immigrants and investors. It will limit the ability of Christchurch artists to reflect their cultures and histories. Additional pressure will be placed on organisations to raise funds through philanthropy and sponsorship in an unknown future environment. It will reduce the ability for individuals to engage with others in their communities at arts and culture events. There is a risk that arts and culture organisations will be insufficiently resourced to maximise the benefit of the new city facilities which we are planning. The ability for the city to attract top quality conferences and events will be reduced through limited pitch resources and supporting things to do. It will lower the visibility of Christchurch on the national and international stage. In conclusion, the Christchurch Arts Audience Development Steering Group representatives would like to reinforce the importance of maintaining funding to the events and festivals budget. We ask that consideration be given to the impact that arts and culture have on the quality of life of the residents and the overall economic impact that a reduction in the vibrancy of the city would have. We encourage the city to embrace new, efficient and collaborative ways of working and to recognise that the arts and culture have played an integral role in keeping the city alive since the earthquakes, and we can continue to do that if we're appropriately funded into the future.
Thank you. Andrew?
New, efficient and collaborative ways of working.
Absolutely.
Great ideas.
Yep.
When you think of that, what sort of things do you see? What sort of models could you see working?
I guess to give you a little bit of a background to me, because I have to answer the question individually rather than on behalf of all of these organisations. My husband and I own Leighs Construction, and we're sponsors of the arts. I was instrumental in setting up this trust. I'm also on the Skate Public Art Trust, and I'm on the Botanic Gardens Trust, which is just being set up. From my perspective, what we're doing with the Arts Audience Development Trust is saving all of those organisations money. It's sharing resources. It's sharing and using the intelligence that actually exists out and around Christchurch. You know, it would be lovely to assume that we were just going to throw money at this, but that's not what's going to happen. You know, we want to maintain this funding, but I think that we can no longer work in a siloed environment. We can't think about, if you imagine a big pie graph, and you imagine in the past, possibly, we all had our own market shares of audience, and we protected them individually. What we know from the research now is that if we look at that whole pie as something that we can share together, and we can encourage others to, we can share our audiences with others. We just enrich the benefit for those audiences. Yeah.
Ray.
Hi Jane, just a quick one. In terms of the trade-offs that we've got in front of us, obviously arts has been very important, and other community projects and community services. If we're faced with a trade-off between, say, big-scale projects like 150 million for the Metro Sports and 110 for the stadium, all that kind of stuff, I mean, where do you see the balance there? I mean, what do you see as more important for the recovery in the city? That's
a hard question to ask someone who has a construction company.
Exactly what I thought I'd ask you. Got one foot in each camp.
Oh yeah, well that's right. I'm not an accountant, so I'm not a person who's good at balancing budgets. I am an emotional person, and I've chosen to live in Christchurch with my family. I don't want to live in a city where there's not arts and culture and there's not a heart. We clearly have to skin the cat in a different way, but I think our focus needs to remain strong on those things.
Tim and then Yanni.
Just following the earthquake, a lot of groups started up. There are a lot of new groups with regards to getting funding to the arts and performance and other things, which has been vital for the recovery, as you've said. Mm-hmm. But at some stage, it's what is recovery from the earthquake and what is business as usual, i.e. what Scape was doing prior to, and we get back to normal. With the $9 million down to $6 million, how much of that is, say, government money or different money rather than business as usual that was being supplied?
I'm not sure that I quite understand the question, sorry.
Well, a number of groups have been getting funding from government, which they would not have got prior to the earthquake. Yep. So there, at some stage there has to be, as you said, we've got to look at skinning the cat. There's only going to be so much money. And absolutely. So do you have an idea of the amount that will no longer be coming to Christchurch when it is business as usual? Because I think what you've got here is absolutely common sense, and it makes so much sense, because at some stage there is going to be a change of attitude, and we have to have that. Yeah.
I don't know what the money that comes that will be and that is missing. I'm personally kind of over the earthquakes and recovery. What I want to be looking at is creating a future that I don't think that we have. There's not a target of we are now recovered. No. I don't think we're working through a recovery phase and suddenly we have recovered and then we move into a next phase. Yep. I think that we're now here.
Yep.
Let's say this is it. Let's make the most of this now. Yeah. And let's say this is how it's going to be, and we'll just you're always improving. Yeah. I'm not sure that there's a point at which that changes. I wish I knew what your question was about the government funding. I don't know myself. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. I think you've just described our new normal rather than BAU. So, Yanni.
Thank you. First off, can I just thank you for you and your husband and your company for the commitment that you have made to the arts. It's been really good to see. Unfortunately, I don't see that across the other companies that are making a lot of money from the rebuild, which has been one of the issues for us in terms of declining in sponsorship of events and festivals, for example.
Oh, Yanni. Can I just ask you to exercise a little bit of discretion?
Sure. So I mean, obviously one of the key considerations as part of this long-term plan is whether we should privatise or list our venues like the Horncastle Arena into no longer being a strategic asset. So I really just wanted to understand from you, how important is it that we retain strategic ownership of those venues versus allowing the private sector maybe to come in and take over their running in terms of the impact on the arts?
Yanni, I'm not an expert in assets. I think that there are people around our group who could answer that question well. I'm a marketer. That's what my experience is. So yeah, if you'd like to form a question, I could definitely talk to people or find you the right people to talk to.
And just the only other thing, just in terms of your membership, I noticed the Waitaha Cultural Council and the Arts Centre aren't members. How does your membership work?
Yeah, well, what we did was I probably naively thought, oh, this is a good idea. We should all be working together. And I didn't understand any of the histories or any of the organisations particularly well. So I got on the telephone and we had an initial meeting. I'd say we probably contacted 40 or 50 organisations and probably 20 of them came to the initial meeting. What we had to recognise is that while we want to be representative of the city and the arts, not all of those organisations have the resource to be able to turn up once a week. And those 9 organisations between them, by the end of this year, will have put $37,500 into research and writing strategy. Pretty big-hearted of a lot of those organisations. Some of them have even put in more money because they've said, we can afford to put in more money because we really believe in this. So there's a group of people who have been prepared to give their time and their energy. We recognise that there are some holes in that steering group, but there are also, we've spoken to a number of people and they've said, can't do it now. Believe in what you're doing, and we'll sit back and wait till you're really successful, and then we'll jump on the bandwagon. And that's understandable. It's understandable.
Look, thank you, Jane. It's great that you've made the submission, and I think that the approach that you've adopted in terms of getting people together to focus on this aspect of it is really welcomed for the city, and I love the attitude that you know, we are where we are and let's just get on with it. Great. Thank you very much. So the last one for this session is David Bristow.